In the town of Santa Rosa, there once lived a couple named Hugo and Imelda. Every mealtime, they quarreled over the chore of washing the dishes. Imelda would scold Hugo if he refused to wash the dishes. Sometimes, she would become angry and call him names. And if he talked back, she would get her coconut midge broom and chase him with it. He would run to the house of his compadre and hide there till his wife's anger had passed. The neighbor familiarly called Cross Imelda, Camaldang, and Hugo, Kaugong. One day, just as they were finishing their lunch, Kaugong announced,
"I am not going to wash the dishes anymore."
He threw out his chest and lifted his chin.
Who say so?
Asked Camaldang, holding up her chin higher.
"I say so. I worked hard in the field this morning. I am not going to wash any dishes."
Camaldang stood up, and with her arms akimbo, she glared down at Kaugong across the table. Her arms were stout. She was a big woman. Her voice was also big.
"And who, Mr. Hugo, is going to wash these dishes?"
Kaugong's chest sank again. His chin also went down. He held on the edge of the table, nervously.
You
He said in a much lower tone.
You are the woman. You should do all the housework."
"And what do you do?"
Asked Camaldang.
"You tie the carabao to the rigs in the fields, and then you lie down to watch it graze? You call that hard work, huh? I cook, clean the house, wash your clothes, and scrub the floor. I do all the work that only slaves do. And yet, you even refuse to help me wash the plates from which you have eaten?"
Camaldang's voice was now raised to a high pitch and her tears poised on her eyelids ready to peer down. She looked at Kaugong and her broom. She grabbed the broom. She raised the broom to strike him, crying.
"Don't!
He cried.
Don't strike me!
"Come out from under that table, you coward!"
Ordered Camaldang.
Wait! Don't strike me! Listen!
Said Kaugong.
I got a plan that you decide who should wash the dishes."
"Come out of there! Come out and speak like a man, not mew like a cat under that table!"
Said Camaldang.
Lay down your broom!
Said Kaugong.
All right, come out!"
Camaldang put her broom behind the door. Kaugong returned to his seat opposite her at the table.
"What have you to say?"
Asked Camaldang, wiping her eyes.
Let's stop quarreling over the plates. Let us have a wager. The first one of us who will speak after I've said the word begin will wash the dishes. Always. Right.
Said Kaugong.
If you even say just one word to me or to anybody or to anything after I had said begin, you will always wash the dishes.
"That's easy. I can shut my mouth even for a week. You cannot. You even talk to your carabao."
Alright. Are you ready?
Camaldang sat upright in front of him across the table. She nodded her head, compressed her lips, and Kaugong said,
Begin.
They both fell silent. They sat at the table, looking at each other across the unwashed plates and bowls and spoons. They did not like to leave each other for fear that one would talk to himself without others hearing. They sat there, just staring. Soon, the cat began to mew its food. Neither Camaldang nor Kaugong paid any attention to its mewing.
Meow.
The cat jumped upon the drying dishes to lick the leftovers. Camaldang did not drive it away. Neither did Kaugong. The cat licked the plates, jumped to the stove to lick the pot and pan on it, overturned the kettle. Kaugong pretended that nothing had happened. He continued to sit still, and so did Camaldang. Soon, it was getting late in the afternoon, but they went on sitting mutely at the lunch table. Their eyes were tired down, staring hard at each other. Tears began to roll down their cheeks. Kaugong's shirt became damp with his sweat. Camaldang's sweat gathered on her forehead and trickled down to the sides of her face and fell drop by drop to her breast. A neighbor called,
"Compadre Ugong, O compadre!
Kaugong did not answer.
Compadre Maldang! Yoo-hoo! Compadre Maldang! Compadre Ugong, may I borrow your axe?
Kaugong did not answer. Kaugong looked at her silently.
Perhaps nobody is home.
They heard the neighbor say to herself.
But why did they leave the ladder at the door? They usually remove the ladder when they go away. Well, I will just go up, get the axe, and return it later.
The neighbor went up. When the neighbor went up for the bamboo ladder, she was surprised to see Kamaldang and Kaugong sitting silently at the table where plates had dried with leftovers.
What happened to you, compadre? What happened?
Kaugong neither moved nor talked. The neighbor repeated her question.
What happened to you, compadre?
She took Kaugong's shoulders. Kaugong let her shake him, closing his lips slightly. The neighbor turned to Kamaldang.
Speak, comadre. What happened?
She shook her shoulders too. She pushed her roughly aside but did not speak.
Did you eat something poisonous? Or some food that has made you dumb?
She shook each one alternately, but still neither stood up or talked. The neighbor was alarmed. She did not get the axe but ran out of the house to the rest of the neighbors. She told them that something terrible had happened to her Kumadre Maldang and Kumpadre Ugong. The neighbors gathered at Kamaldang's dining room. They took turns trying to make them speak. Kaugong knew that she did so to avoid the neighbors. He also closed his eyes and ignored everyone who had come up to his house. Kamaldang was very angry with her compadre's interference, but she dared not speak her mind. She pretended to be asleep. The compadre was very much worried. She ran to the village herdman. The herdman came to the village. And when he saw the motionless, silent husband and wife sitting at the table, he declared that they were bewitched.
They were bewitched!
He spread a woven buri mat in the sala and asked the bewitched couple to lie down. Kaugong obediently lay down and closed his eyes. He curled up and went to sleep, but Kamaldang refused to get up from where she sat at the dining table. The herdman said,
Ha! The spirit which has taken possession of her very stature. I must break its spell.
He then produced from a small bag which he always carried. He examined the leaves closely to choose those which had veins running in identical arrangements on each side of the midrib. He cut the nut into 9 pieces. He spread a little lime on each betel leaf, rolled them, and wrapped them around each piece of areca nut. He now had 9 rings of the leaves.
This represents the lost spirit of the couple.
He said. He chewed the leaf and nut. When he had chewed it, he spat on his palm, dipped a forefinger of the other hand into the coconut-colored saliva, and marked with it a cross on the forehead of Kaugong. Kaugong did not seem to feel the old man's finger on his forehead. And Kamaldang caught the man's finger and twisted it.
Aray!
The old herb doctor cried and pulled back his hand. He moved toward Kaugong, who was lying down, calling his name and slowly several times.
Come, Ugong! Come back, Ugong!
Kaugong did not move or speak. Kamaldang did not answer. Evening fell on the frightened village. Frightened because the herb doctor said that the spell might be cast on some other villagers besides Kaugong and Kamaldang. He called to the bewitched couple softly at first,
Come, Ugong! Kamaldang!
and then louder.
Come, Ugong! Kamaldang!
But still, they did not move. Kamaldang soon became tired, so she reclined against the bamboo chair. The old herbman said,
This is the first witchery of this stock I have with her. By their signs, I believe that they are dead. Their spirits driven away by the witch have left their bodies. The only things to do now in order to keep their souls and the ways to prevent this spirit crop from spreading among us into the world.
The herdman ordered some of the men to look for bamboos to make coffins immediately before the malady would go to them. In no time, the coffin made of bamboos hurriedly tied together were finished. The women began to weep for Kamaldang. She leaned rigidly against the back of her chair and shut her lips tight. The herdman asked the men gathered around to lift the couple into their coffins.
We shall bury them at sunrise. Some of the have stayed to keep wait for them.
He said. The man easily lifted Kaugong and placed him inside his coffin. Surely, Kaugong said to himself, he would win the wager. He would not be afraid of being buried. Why? He would just get out of the grave when the neighbors were gone. He thought everything going on was great fun and he was enjoying himself. How he would frighten them all when he returned from his graveyard. The herdman approached Kamaldang. Although her eyes were closed, she had been listening to his directions. She was afraid that he would surely force her into her coffin if she did not tell him to go away. But she did not like to talk. She hoped her husband would object to the man's lifting of her into the coffin. Surely, Hugo will not let me bury tomorrow. I am afraid to sleep in that coffin tonight. No, I will not let them lift me to it, she said to herself. But she did not hear Kaugong speak. She opened her eyes just as the herdman, aided by two other men, put his arms around her to lift her up from her chair. Kamaldang pushed the men, go to her feet and shouted,
Don't touch me! Get out! Get out from my house! Shame on you for coming here, meddling with our lives!
Kaugong leaped to his feet. He also shouted,
She talked first. We have a wager. Now she will always wash the dishes.
Kamaldang lifted the lid of Kaugong's coffin to strike his head, but he ran out with his neighbor, still shouting happily and saying,
I win! Now she will always wash the dishes. Yes,
Hi guys!
Welcome back to my channel.
Action! Who's Emily?
In 3, 2, 1, action.
Wait! Don't strike me. Listen. The first one of us who will speak after I've said the word begin will wash the dishes, always. Right.
Said
1, 2, 3, go!
Kaugong leaped to his feet. He also shouted.
You talk first.
He jumped about, clapping his hands and saying,
She talked first. We have a wager. Now she will always wash the dishes.
Kamaldang lifted the lid of Kaugong's coffin to strike his head, but he ran out with his neighbor, still shouting happily and saying,
I win!
she would get her coconut midge broom and chase him with it.
何？お前はもう死んでいる。